new, activity which has started, which is called midnight snacking. And midnight snacking, according to us nutritionists, is one of the worst things when it comes to putting on weight. There are some children who are eating a lot, but there are some kids who have loss of appetite too. They don't feel hungry. We're seeing things like insomnia. Children are unable to sleep. Again, uncontrolled screen time can actually cause insomnia because they're being exposed to so much of blue light. See, earlier they were just doing recreational screen, they were watching the screen recreationally. But now the screen time also means studying. So combine the recreation screen time and the school screen time is, throwing the whole screen time, out of whack. You're always on the screen. So much exposure to the blue light can cause insomnia and can also cause, depression. Again, because kids are sitting so much, they are lethargic, there's lack of movement. So when you are lethargic and when you don't move, that also leads to anxiety and depression. And all of this leads to diminished ability to learn. The kids won't be able to learn well. The cognitive function declines because of this. Now, what is the solution to all of this is what we are going to be talking about today. So the good news is that diet and exercise can go a long way in reducing symptoms associated with stress and anxiety. In the absence of the cure or treatment for COVID-19, lifestyle is the only solution. We all have to work on a lifestyle. I think lifestyle is a new religion. Now, I'll talk about the calming foods, which you should include in your child's diet. Now, water is something is very, very important. Now, as we all know, children don't like to drink water. But if kids are not hydrated well, and now because they're not playing outside, they don't feel thirsty so much, and a lot of them are in air-conditioned homes, they are not that thirsty. But believe you me, if they don't have enough hydration, that can also make them feel lethargic. It can make them feel anxious. Make sure that your child drinks at least 6 to 8 glasses of simple plain water every day. Again, there's something we call is the gut-brain axis. If your gut is healthy, your brain is healthy. And to make your gut healthy, we need, good beneficial bacteria in the gut. So please make sure that your child is having a small portion of yogurt every day. If he doesn't like yogurt, you can even give him or her probiotic supplement. Fiber also helps in building up the healthy gut bacteria. So they should be getting fiber from nuts, seeds, fruits, and vegetables. Eggs is again an important thing. Please give the egg yolk because that's what contains B12 and choline, which is very important for brain health. There's something called L-tryptophan, which helps in the production of serotonin, serotonin is a neurotransmitter, which makes you feel calm. So these are the foods: oats, sesame seeds, walnuts, cashews, chickpeas, even mozzarella cheese. So that's good news for children. You can give them pizza, a whole wheat pizza with mozzarella cheese on top, or you can even take a whole wheat bread and, make it like a pizza. Sesame seeds, maybe sprinkle on top of, the sandwiches or the salads or the fruits if they like it, or you can even roast it, or you can even make trail mixes out of it. Flax seeds and fatty fish are very rich in omega-3 fatty acids, which are again very beneficial for brain health. It helps in alleviating depression and stress. So those of you who are non-vegetarian and fish eaters, try and eat fishes which are fatty, like sardines, which is a common fish, pomfret, and if you can have salmon, why not? Again, there are chemicals called endorphins, which makes you feel happy. So dark chocolate is something which helps in releasing of endorphins. Cocoa, if you can give your child a cocoa drink, like a drinking chocolate, which can help them feel good. And the other thing, which is called chamomile tea, which has been proven to really improve your stress. It helps you deal with your stress. It calms you down. It has an extreme calming effect on the body. I know chamomile tea sounds more like an adult drink, but you can actually give it to kids also. They may just like it because it helps you in calming down. So these are the foods which I think you must include in your child's diet so that they feel a little calmer than what they're actually feeling. So this is what I want to say about foods. Now let's come to lifestyle. You have to make sure that your child is physically active. You should be doing a 1 hour daily of either physical play or exercise, either of it. It is very, very important that they engage in some kind of physical activity because, they're sitting a lot. And if you understand, sitting is the new smoking. It has been shown that people who sit for more than 6 hours in a day, they are more prone to lifestyle disorders. Okay, so make sure that they're not sitting too much. Even if they are doing something on the computer, ask them to stand maybe every 40 minutes or 30 minutes for 3-4 minutes, and then again sit down. Another thing which we must talk about is posture, because we've seen most of the children, they are using smartphones, or now they are on the laptops more. So they're bending more, their necks are always down, their spine curvature is going down. So what we have seen is, if your posture is not all right, it affects your lung function also. You don't breathe well because there's a pressure when you're bending, there's a pressure on your lungs. So enough oxygen doesn't go inside your lungs. And as we all know, we're all focusing on respiratory health right now. So, uh, posture is extremely important. Make sure that they are going to, they sit properly. Varuna is going to show you, is going to talk about it more, but I'm just focusing on these topics. And also work on their sleep, right? So all these factors can also help in increasing your child's lung health. And if we have better lung health, they breathe better, we need not worry about anything. Now, talking about sleep, I had spoken about it earlier, but I want to really emphasize on this, that to maximize immunity, children must get enough sleep. And sleep requirements vary with age. So for preschoolers, make them sleep between 10 to 13 hours. They must sleep that long. Because I've seen even small children, they don't sleep much today. Children between age 6 to 13 should be getting at least 9 to 11 hours, and adolescents between 14 to 17 hours should sleep a minimum of 8 hours, if not 10 hours. And please, try and build up a routine, because, if you don't have a routine, it will get very difficult for your child to get back to school. So the reason why we're having this webinar is that, we don't know when the school reopens, but we want to make our kids fit and healthy to be able to go back to school and face the school again, both mentally and physically. So, it's not that tomorrow you get a circular from school, the school is opening after 1 week, and that's when you start thinking about it. You have to start thinking about it right now. If you want the child to have good immunity or good health, so that he or she can, face face the situation and go back to school in these COVID times, and not thinking and worrying about contracting the infection. Now, exercise, as I said, is very important. Varuna is going to talk about it. So she's going to talk about things like, how to stretch to relax, how to move to improve blood circulation, and also breathing techniques to improve lung function. Thank you so much for listening. And I'm now, going to go back to Varuna, and she can take over. So Varuna, back to you. And now the audience is all yours. Varuna, you have to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Thank you so much. That was very informative, and also concisely put in all the different ideas together. Yes, lifestyle is the most important, and just like we believe, yoga is not just an asana. It's not just a movement or a practice. It is about bringing all elements of your life together. So in yoga, there are 8 basic limbs that we work with. One is yama and niyama, which is the first 2, which is basically your basic principles, the basic structure of your day, how you structure each, quarter of your day is very important. When you wake up, what do you do? When you go to sleep, how is it that you're going to sleep? All aspects of the day matter. And at the same time, the child shouldn't feel like you're boxing them too much. They should have, some space to do the things that they enjoy as well, to make them happy. So in the yogic practice, you have yama niyama, which is creating a basic routine, inculcating that basic values in them, universal values, and also your daily aspects of when you have a bath, how you have a bath. Like first thing, it's always advised in the morning to have a cold shower, which actually activates your immune system. It makes your brain sharper. It activates all those elements in the body and brain, which prepare you to take over for the rest of the day, increasing levels of energy. And in the evenings, usually, you're supposed to have more lukewarm water baths, helps relax the muscles. And if you've done any activity through the day, it helps prevent injuries or prevent soreness in the body, because we're sitting for so long working, and a lot of us allow our children to even have that half an hour of game time on the computer. So all of those things add up through the day. um, then you have asana and pranayama, which is basically movement. Asana is movement, the different poses that a child can do. I'll go into that in a bit. And pranayama is basically the breathing practices which complement the movement. Now, the breathing practices, because we use only between 7 to 10% of our lung capacity, we're not really able to energize the lungs, maybe because of bad posture, like you mentioned, Hina, but also because sometimes that we've never been taught to develop lung capacity when we're small. We just take the breath for granted. We know it's there. It just came in when we were born and then continued. So to create that awareness about breath is really important. And at the same time, breath in itself is what carries that energy to the rest of the body, to the different cells in the body. So when you're doing the movement, are you breathing correctly? When you're going to sleep, what is the breath like? Even in this moment, we can do a little experiment ourselves, and we can just check, is the breath flowing through the left nostril or the right nostril? If we can all do this, sometimes it's increasingly flowing through the left side more, which is the more relaxing, calming, lunar side. And then there's the right side, which is the heating, the energizing, what you call the solar side, the duality in the body, the left hemisphere, right hemisphere. So you find that when it's breathing, your breath is only flowing through the left. If there's an imbalance, then the body tends to become more lethargic. And I mean, this is for all the parents themselves. I mean, because the children are watching the parents, they're going to emulate the parents. So you can observe for yourself how the breath is flowing right now. The right side, if it's overtly active through the day, then that means you're bound to get more stressed, maybe more angry, a lot of heat in the body. So every 90 minutes, the breath actually switches from one nostril to the other scientifically. But if that switch is not happening for whatever reasons, it could be, you have a nasal septum, maybe more susceptible to colds and coughs, because of which the sinuses sort of freeze up a little bit. If the breath is not flowing through both nostrils adequately and equally, switching at the right times through the day, you'll find that the body itself becomes either very lethargic if it's only flowing to the left, or depressed, or sad, or unwilling to really move the body. You hear some children sometimes saying that, I just don't feel like doing anything. I just can't push myself to even sit and work and complete my homework. Maybe there's just an imbalance of energy in the body. Sometimes you get more angry, irritable, and you don't know why that is happening. You find that it is sometimes the right nostril which is more active and energized. So to balance out both nostrils, we can take up different techniques in yoga, which is one is, I would say, very, very effective is doing the yoga nidra, bringing in the element of aware rest, aware conscious rest. Even say, for example, towards post lunch, if you want to move around a little, walk around a little after you've eaten, but when you lie down, maybe you can just do this with your children, along with them, that you lie down, listen to some soothing, relaxing music, and then take your awareness consciously through different parts of the body, starting from the toes to the top of the head. This not only brings the mind to a state where it is completely relaxed, but it also allows for you to relax consciously, where the mind is resting, and so is the body simultaneously. It's not that the body is resting like you try to sleep at night, but the mind is racing. So that happens when there is an imbalance in the body. And as Hina would know herself, I mean, she would, she also talks about the same thing. It depends on not only what you're doing through the day, but also what you're eating, the kind of things that you're talking about. It needs to create that balance where they also feel nourished and they thrive in that environment. So you have yama, niyama, asana, pranayam. Then you have dharana, dhyan. So that means dharana is where, you find that the children now, at least even for all the parents as well, we find it very difficult to focus on any one specific thing for very long. So all of our attention spans have also become very short. To increase attention span as well for children, again, I'll mention this in the pranayam that we'll be doing today. To increase attention, memory, along with focus, as well as helps reducing anxiety and gives you good sleep, is one pranayam that I really love practicing, and I feel like all children should definitely incorporate this in their regular practice, is Brahmari. It's called the bee breath, and it's done very simply. I think a lot of us must have already been done it. Hina, would you like to do maybe one quick round of it?
Yeah, we should. I think I'll put the spotlight on you so that people can see you more.
Okay. So what you do in Brahmari, the simplest version, any age group can do this, whether you're, up to age of 7, because that is one usual category that we work with, slightly younger children. And then 8 and above can increase this a little more and do it for a slightly longer period of time. So even for little kids, we usually take the index finger and you have the outer flap of the ear and you flap it in and out. You take a full breath in at the same time and you purse your lips together and you exhale, making that B sound. All the while keeping the eyes closed. You can do this in a fun way with your children before they go to sleep or first thing in the morning. There are a few benefits of this that I would like to speak about. Like we mentioned, all the different things that it targets. Whether it's working on insomnia, whether it's reducing feeling of anxiety, also bringing about a heightened awareness of intuitive powers, a lot of awake and alert concentration. So you can do this in between studies as well. When you feel they're getting a little restless, you can take time out, maybe do this 8 to 10 times. So it goes like inhaling fully, and as we exhale, we make that sound. 8 to 10 rounds of this on an average is good enough to bring the attention back to the present moment. Research that has been conducted by different schools, different universities, there such as University of Oslo, there is Harvard Medical Review, there is even in India you have the Bihar school, the Munger school, which is doing research on Yoga Nidra, on Brahmari, which is the different hormones that it actually starts working on activating. One of them is melatonin, and it helps to energize your pituitary and your pineal gland, which will induce, and sort of work on your parasympathetic nervous system. It helps to relax child's body, brings them into a state of harmony. And also it's very, very simple. It's not a really complicated practice that you need a lot of supervision over. And when it comes to body, you can of course practice yoga nidra, you can practice a little bit of brahmari as we mentioned, but also what we can also do is, if you feel that your child is getting more tired or lethargic, or they don't feel like moving around too much, you can actually build in a few asanas through Surya Namaskar. That's like the easiest practice that somebody can start with. There are a series of 12 very basic poses, and most children, I think, would be able to do them very easily. And that is in itself helps improve joint mobility, increases blood circulation in the body, helps improve metabolism, and also improves lung health. Because it's increasing the fire, the belly fire, which is improved digestive capabilities. You'll find there are the internal organs are stretching in the poses, as well as a lot of the blood circulation is flowing in balance. So the daily practice can include a little bit of breath, a little bit of movement, and a little bit of mind work, which is through sitting still, taking that time out for a few, even if it's for a minute or two after they do their daily routine. So you can see how you want to balance this out in your child's life. And it's better not to stretch it out for too long in one go. So maybe do a little bit in the morning, a little bit in the afternoon post lunch, and then finally towards the evening before they sleep. Yes. So if there's any questions or anything like that, I'd be more than happy to take them up.
Okay. So I think we come to the end of the webinar, and we can start the Q&A. We can throw it open for people to ask us questions now.
All right, so I guess that's it. we have come to the end of this webinar, and I thank Hina ma'am and Varuna ma'am for giving us their views on how we can better prepare ourselves and our kids for a life where COVID-19 is a reality. It's like they said, we went to sleep in a whole different world and then we woke up and it's a whole different life. None of us were prepared for this, but maybe now we can be better prepared mentally and physically. We can better prime our immune systems for this life ahead. So now we'll be entering the question and answer section of the webinar. If you do have any questions, either addressed to Hina ma'am or Varuna ma'am, you can enter those questions in the chat section of Zoom and we will answer them. So you can type in your question and I will either address to Hina ma'am or Varuna ma'am and we will get to them. You can ask your questions now. So Smita has raised her hand. Smita, if you could unmute yourself and ask your question, it would be great.
Hi. So number one, the chat is disabled. You can just check.
Okay.
And number two, thank you, Hina ma'am, for all the the small tips that you've given us and how we can maybe add fun to the diet, especially the mozzarella cheese, because I was under the impression that maybe the cheese could add on to all the fat, and I was really taking care of thinking when to give and not to give and planning the cheese part because my son is very fond of cheese. Apart from that, I wanted to understand a few things like yoga. When you address yoga to a child, and what happens is, they think it's something very serious. So how do we, start with yoga?
Sorry, I didn't understand. I can't hear your question very clearly.
Yeah. So the thing is that yoga as a word, if you tell your child that let's do some yoga, they wouldn't, just doesn't sound very fun.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
actually, what happens is that I've been planning obstacle races for my child on the terrace. But yoga is something which I do it, so I know personally it's very calming and soothing. So how do we introduce yoga to a child? He's 8, so how do I do that?
That's a very good question, actually. And my niece yesterday told me, because we also have online classes running for children on kids yoga where they do different animal movements, they create different stories, and they talk about asanas inside those stories. So even if it's like, it depends on the age group of your child. But she told me yesterday, Masi, I don't want to do yoga, I want to do ballet. And she's 4.
Oh.
And she was like, I rather do something which is cooler right now than do something which is boring. Like, I think older kids do it or my mommy does it. But I think the two ways you can look at it. One is that you don't need to term it as yoga at all. And when I started yoga, I was 3. And I never knew that I was really doing any kind of yoga practices. So all I would do is I was very restless. I was run around the house. And my granddad would just be like, okay, you know what? Let's play a game. Come, and we're going to just lie down very still and let's see who can be really still for longer. So he would do it with me. And then he'd be like, okay, now take your attention to your toes, then take your attention to your knees. And at the end, when, I would do it so well, he would maybe, positively affirm how well I had done. So that desire to do it each time would become a little more and more. So it's about how you term and word it as well is actually very important. So it's a wonderful thing that you brought it up. The second thing that you can also do to still make it very contemporary is, for example, there's a lot of material online as well. And if you want, I can send you some. So how old is your child? How old is?
He's 8. So what happens with him is he understands that because I do yoga early in the morning, so he understands that Mama is doing yoga. So every time he's in the room, I tell him, come do something with me, sit with me, do some breathing. He'll be like, you do it, it's for your age.
Right. How old is he? Did you say 16?
8.
8. Okay. He's a boy. You have a son.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
you know what? They have some very interesting material online, which is a lot of them maybe like superheroes. They have like different idols. It could be Spider-Man, or it could be somebody that they love, or they they look at and they be like, I want to be like that. So there are a lot of
Right.
material online which is actually combining the two. So you have comic superhero characters along with yoga asanas, and it'll be like a 20-minute routine, or it'll be like a half an hour routine where they can feel like they're doing and being those characters, but only through different
Okay.
asanas, but they don't really feel like it's yoga. So it's like a story, and they're
Okay.
trying to discover something, or they're trying to save somebody, save the world. And through that process, the person who's on the screen will guide you through that entire movie, like a little mini movie, and they do the
Right.
asanas along with it.
All right. Superb. So,
I just
so
thought, because if your child does not like yoga, and if he's not in for yoga, you don't have to force him to do yoga. It's what physical
Right.
activity you do, right? And say if you want him to do a few breathing techniques or some little stuff, you just can
yeah, I
tell him.
mean, actually,
Yeah,
yeah, it's
you can
because
say,
of this. Just because of the breathing techniques, I was a little interested that you should do a little bit of breathing exercises.
sure. So
Otherwise, he's quite active throughout the day.
you could tell him, let's have some fun. You can put on some Hindi music, whatever he likes. So sometimes you enjoy something else, but you're doing
Yeah.
something else.
Yes.
So it doesn't have to be
Right.
yoga, or even
You have
exercise.
to go with their interest. Yeah, absolutely.
Forget yoga. You tell a child, let's do some exercise. Most children wouldn't want to do it. I mean, it has to be done. Once they understand that, and children at their age, they don't really understand the importance of all these things.
Yeah.
It's for them to understand. Even adults
So
don't.
I mean, yeah. Only because of that, I try and plan an obstacle race for him every third, fourth day, and then we do a little bit of skipping, and then we do a little of lunges and all that. So
You
then
can just,
breathing is something.
you can bring in a little bit of breathing in between. You can call that he will perform better if he does this. So you can talk about lung capacity. You can tell him if your lung capacity is good, you will perform better.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
always,
Even you can even mention, whoever his favorite footballer is, he'd be like, okay, this footballer gets this lung capacity, or the practice is because he has this particular space, or he does this breathing technique. It
This
doesn't
never
need to be
struck
yoga
me
per
yet.
se. And you can, I
Yeah.
mean, follow the interest and allow that benefit to move in through the practice.
and one more thing I would
Absolutely.
like
This
to say,
inside this.
if your child is not interested, don't force him into this, especially during these times. Let him enjoy what he does, but just tell him, see, what happens is we as parents, we try to impose a lot. You don't have to
True.
plan this every day with him. You just, what we do, where we go wrong as parents is that we try to pressurize kids into doing things. You have to tell him this is right, this is wrong, this is what you need to do. Now it's your decision. Put the onus on the child. Make him independent, because as parents, our duty is to, have independent children who can, who don't have to depend on us for every
Absolutely.
decision in their lives. So your role as a parent is to give information and tell him him or her, how important things are, and it's up to him to imbibe it or not. Once you start doing it, the onus is on the child. And believe you me, the child actually, they're much more intelligent and smarter than we are. If he gets interested, he'll Google, he'll find out everything, he'll do it on his own. You won't have had to plan anything. He can probably plan things for you. It can work the other way around also. So,
Absolutely.
give your child that independence to because when you choose something for yourself, you enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
When you choose something for your child, you're imposing that on your child. So let him
Right.
decide what he wants to do. So I think then a lot of your problems will be solved.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much. You're welcome.
All right, Smita, I hope that answered your question. And thank you so much for pointing out that the chat was disabled. It has been enabled since. So if you do have questions, you can type it in right there and we will get to it. Our next question is from Sudha. Sudha asks, can children do alternate nostril breathing? If so, at what age do they start?
Okay, that's a very poignant question, because this is important. It's important not to start your child off with alternate nostril very early. So ideally, before the age of 8, they don't need to do alternate nostril. Only once they're around 9 plus is it fine for children usually to start with alternate nostril. But you find that when children are younger, there are certain other practices which work more effectively with them in terms of increasing the way their prefrontal cortex, the brain develops, as well as how we need to work on regulating their breath. Things like Brahmari, or even certain other practices such as balloon breathing might be more effective in helping balancing the left and right side of the brain. Now, Nadi Shodhan is usually done with slightly older children. 9 onwards, you can start them off with very basic Nadi Shodhan, and say post 14, if you are doing your own yoga practice and you want to sort of develop lung capacity a little more, they do something called candle breathing, where you work on keeping a candle at a distance and you try to blow at the candle to sort of shut out the flame. So with every time that you shut the flame out, you keep the candle slightly further away. So you're using lung capacity to blow and you're trying to shut the candle flame off. In process, you actually increase lung capacity as well. There's a proper format that they do it in, and a proper way and a proper distance that you keep it at each time when you practice this. But usually that is done even with very young sportsmen or sports people who are maybe getting into professional golf, or they are becoming athletes. So that really induces and improves endurance in the lungs. So I would say alternate nostril in particular can be started later, but the benefits of alternate nostril, or benefits of the same left and right hemisphere coming together, can be gotten or can be received from other breathing practices. I hope that answers the question.
All right, so I hope that answered your question about alternate nostril breathing. If there are any other questions about yoga or anything else nutrient related for your kids, we would love to answer them. You can type out your questions in the chat section on Zoom, which is enabled right now, or you can use the Zoom feature to raise your hand. And when you do raise your hand, you can unmute yourself and ask your question. Sudha says it's been a very enlightening session, and thank you so much. You're welcome, Sudha. It's been a joy for us to be able to conduct this.
Varuna,
Yeah, Hina.
can you show some, some little simple asanas if you can? Like you spoke about few things.
Yes, I had actually spoken a little bit about pressure points in the body. Usually we kind of combine activating different pressure points in the body along with the movement. Maybe I can share one with you, which I personally feel is very, very effective and impactful, which is, all of us have a central nerve called the vagus nerve. And usually when the activity in this nerve is not optimized. The body's immune system also doesn't function very well. This can happen even in, say, certain cases when there's a lot of lethargy or tiredness, or even if your child is feeling unwell. To activate this, we can use different points on the body to retune or rewire or sort of awaken the vagus nerve. So I thought it would be interesting. They can do this standing as well, but we focus on 4 different areas in the body to do this. Let me share this with you. So, for example, if we're doing this early morning, we can start by using these 2 fingers, index and middle finger. And we start by tapping outside the eyes. Stand tapping outside the eyes. We usually always stand straight, and we try and make sure that the feet are balanced completely. You're not bending more on one side than the other. Again, brain left and right hemisphere needs to be in balance. So to do so, you don't even need to do alternate nostril breathing. All you need to do is, when you stand in samasthiti, which is complete equilibrium, you have to make sure that the body is not tilting too much to the right or left, because the right side of the body is controlled by the left hemisphere and vice versa. So my feet are grounded. I'm not standing too much on the toes or the heels, standing in the center. Make sure if your child on a daily basis is sitting on the computer and tapping or using the keyboard, their upper backs are not slouching. So you have to integrate the core. You have to lift the spine up, and you have to make sure that the posture is correct. So instead of that S curve, your body is completely in balance and the shoulders are even. If one shoulder is higher than the other, that too means there is imbalance in the body. So in front of the mirror, you can check and see if this is so. And when you start in samasthiti, we start and we gently start tapping on the outsides of the eyes, making sure that you are breathing correctly, you're breathing easily. Make sure you don't hold your breath at any point. So this is actually, since the entire skin has nerve endings, according to traditional medicine, Ayurveda, as well as ancient Chinese medicine, the outsides of the eyes and under this area is connected to the liver. So you're tapping, waking this up in the mornings, always preferred in the mornings because then you carry that energy with you through the day. The next is at the joint of the collarbone. Under the collarbone, you tap. You're activating, you're working at activating the immune system and your vagus nerve. We move to the different glands. Now we activate the thymus. The thymus is where the collarbones meet. So you're activating the thymus. And then under the rib cage, here, right in line with the armpit, you're activating by tapping on both. So you have your spleen and pancreas on one side and your entire ascending colon. You can go a little lower, descending colon on the other side. Once again, just gentle tapping and relax. We usually take the palm, rub it, and we stretch in opposite direction. Again, left and right hemisphere. We're lengthening the right hand towards the ceiling, left hand stretching down. We'll hold the breath on top and exhale when we breathe out. Again, inhale, stretch out in both directions, hold the breath on top, exhale, coming back. And then gently allow the body to drop down like a rag doll. You let the upper body hang loose. So you're hanging loose. Just moving from side to side, and then you can just make that figure of 8. Increasing that spinal mobility. The whole body is dependent on the spine. And you take your arms up, stretching out all the way, exhale, and you slowly bring it down. And this not only energizes what you call and activates the vagus nerve, but it also improves spinal mobility. And your whole body, your entire structure, all the nerves around the spine, the erector spinae nerves at the base of the spine, actually feel more energized. You can even do this between your work, but preferably not at night. You do it in the first half of the day, which is advisable. This keeps you active, and you can do this even between your work or your study. And this would go for the parents as well, and you can do this as well. And the children probably watching you would want to emulate that and do it along with you.
And what's the best time to do this?
Anytime during the morning or through the day is fine, but preferably not at night, because this does tend to increase energy. So if you're doing this the second half of the day, the logic is post sundown, you don't want to be so energized that you can't sleep. So you want to allow the body to sort of wane off and sort of relax fully. This will bring in more energy. So better to carry that in the morning and through the day, and then continue to do other practices towards the night, which is more like Brahmari, which is more relaxing, or Yoga Nidra.
How can they do Brahmari, just relax themselves at night? What is that they can do?
They can sit on their beds comfortably. They can, put a comfortable pillow behind their back. But the most important thing is, when you're doing any breathing technique, the spine should be straight, because this is what you call the thoracic cavity. You don't want the thoracic cavity to be bent. You don't want your back to be slouching. So you need to keep the chest lifted to be able to fully expand the belly and the chest up to the shoulders. So when we're doing yoga or any breathing technique, don't call it yoga, call it any breathing technique, we're working with three sections of the lungs, the three lobes of the lungs. So the bottom is, when you energize the abdominal breathing, when you activate it, like sometimes in certain practices, you must have heard saying, when you breathe in, expand the belly. When you exhale, you relax the belly. So what you're actually doing is energizing the bottommost lobe of the lung, which you do by energizing and starting off with belly breathing. So you have abdominal breathing. The second half, which is connected to the second lobe of the lung, is the thoracic breathing. So you're breathing in and out through the lungs, and you can feel the chest expanding sideways. So the chest actually, physiologically doesn't expand forward and back. It expands sideways, like an accordion. You have the harmonium, it expands sideways. So just like that, the lungs, the thoracic cavity expands sideways and back. And then you have your clavicular breathing, which is where the top lobe of the lung is attached to the shoulder blades here. So when you inhale, sometimes slowly the shoulders go up, but it's not an unnatural up and down of the shoulders. It's just a gentle movement of the shoulders up and relax. So even when you start off in the evening, you can tell your children to simply breathe in through the belly, breathe in through the chest, up to the shoulders. Exhale as you relax the shoulders, relax the chest, relax the stomach. So essentially, even by taking your attention there, the brain is sending those neurotransmitters to the different parts of the body, saying, okay, we're going to energize the lower lobe, energize the second, energize the third. And then relax the first, relax the second, relax the third. So to consciously do this with awareness will be enough for the children, because they are, of course, really quick at grasping all these techniques, and soon it will become a part of their unconscious routine as well. So they won't have to consciously start energizing their lungs, but over a period of time, 1-2 months, if you practice with them slowly, if they're open to doing it, if they're comfortable doing it, then you'll notice that they're breathing correctly over a period of time. Their chest congestion, nasal congestion will definitely go down much more than before.
Thank you. That was really insightful. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for that, Varuna ma'am.
Our
next question is from Nidhi Verma. Nidhi says, hi, what is a good age for kids to start yoga? And what should be the minimum duration?
I would say, nowadays you even have classes, mama and baby classes for children who are 6 weeks old, who've just come out. But of course, the protocol for yoga till the age of 7 is very different. We have very simple ways of introducing yoga to very young children and make it more fun and games and moving around, and with just a little bit of breathing or a little bit of sitting still. But post 8, they can slowly start using different asanas, staying in the asanas, because the body of the child till they're around 7-8 is very different. It's very supple, very soft. You do not want them to hold too long in an asana or stretch too deep. You want it to be a very subtle way that they actually start sort of adapting to the movements. And to be honest, children in themselves know what is right and wrong. Very little children also, they know that, okay, this is how much they can do, or this is what needs to be done. We don't need to push them into any movement or any practice, or do any kind of complicated breathing at all, because they're very tender at that age. And there's something very interesting, if you notice, little babies, they always suck on their thumbs. And usually this is actually also a mudra in yoga. So in this is called the Merudand mudra. And very small children now, very interesting research, very niche research in different universities is being done, which actually shows that the Merudand mudra was originally, when different texts were written, yogic texts were written, was done due to strengthen the spine. And little babies do the same. So there was a comparative study of this mudra and what the body naturally does when it's small and when it's tiny and wants to develop is suck on the thumb. This thumb would be, the nerve endings would be connected to actual development and growth and strengthening of the spine. So when they suck the thumb, the body is naturally developing. So the child in itself does the same to allow the whole mechanism of the body to grow and flourish. So it's very beautiful how little bits of it is taken from nature. Everything in yoga is taken from nature. So even the poses are animal poses or little baby pose, or the resting poses called the happy baby, where you hold your legs and you just relax from side to side. Those are all naturally happening in nature all the time. So little children already know what they need to do. We don't have to put them through too much of movement or breathing, anything like that.
All right, I hope that answered your question, Nidhi. The next question is from Ramsha Zeb. Ramsha says, how is yoga and exercise actually effective in increasing our immunity? What is the mechanism?
Okay. So again, it depends on what age group your child is and what kind of practice you're doing. So for example, something as simple as Surya Namaskar, which could be taken as a complete physical practice. So when you do any kind of physical activity, you're working out, doing an HIIT program, or you're doing you're running the track, or you're just simply doing an obstacle race. What happens is the body has these feel-good hormones, which which start getting activated, like the endorphins, and you're actually the body and the brain connect, coming together, make you happier, make you feel like you've done something, you've achieved something, and the whole body and mind feel very good after a workout. You can look at yoga or a asana practice simply as that. So effectively, if it is activating feel-good hormones, it is allowing the body to feel better, feel stronger, and over a period of time, physiologically, you will find that there is muscle development. So when you look at yoga and you're looking at poses, what we're doing is we're actually holding a pose, and sometimes we're moving through many different poses. So we're doing a combination of actual movement through poses and isometric holds. So when you have different isometric holds, you're also building muscle and you're building strength, as well as you're improving the muscle, the mobility in the muscles and the joints. So it actually works on many different levels physically, but through the breath also you find that because you're taking in more oxygen into the body, you'll find that there is increased energy levels. So if you're doing a lot of deep breathing, you will find that the oxygen levels will go up, the brain activity will go up, you feel that they're much sharper and stronger. And of course, the same would apply in the sense to food, because when you're breathing better, the capacity of your stomach and your internal organs to absorb that food is better. Then you'll find that the body is absorbing more nutrients also. It is developing and being able to create that balance, where even if you say, for example, you talked about the gut-brain balance, if your gut is not functioning well, your brain is not functioning adequately, it's not optimizing, you're not feeling sharp, you're feeling foggy, that foggy brain in the morning, sometimes For adults, it's easy, you just have that cup of coffee and you're back at work. But for children, it's not the same. Sometimes they can't even express how they're feeling. So to be able to have a gut which is able to absorb food well, I feel the physical practice of asanas actually improves digestion if you have acidity, or even children, young children have colic. So very little children, or sometimes, when you have 7 and under, different asanas or stretches like Bhujang Asana or bridge pose can actually help not only strengthen your lower pelvic region, but can help stretch abdominal organs, increase blood circulation, as well as improve their digestive capability.
All right, if there are any other questions, we would love to address them. Nidhi says, thank you, it was helpful. I agree, this entire seminar was very helpful, teaching us about yogic sciences. It's ironic that most of us are from the country where yoga originated from, but we are mostly unaware of this great art. So thank you, Varuna ma'am, for enlightening us about it.
Thank you so much for having me, Wayne and Hina.
Our pleasure. So happy to have you here.
If there aren't any more questions, we will be wrapping it up for today, since it is past the 5 p.m. mark. We've got another question, but this will be the last one for today. Jessica Gomes says, does single nostril breathing induce good sleep? Left nostril.
Hi, Jessica. How are you?
Hi, Jessica.
By single nostril breathing, do you mean alternate nostril breathing, or do you mean only Surya Bhedna or Chandra Bhedna? Because they're all different pranayams, like if you're getting into the technicality. So usually, like we said, only single. Okay. So like I mentioned, left-sided would be the lunar one, right, is solar. So if you're doing Chandra Bhedna, which is the left-sided one, you will find that you can allow the body to relax fully before it sleeps. So, but if you're doing the right side by mistake also, it will be very difficult to fall asleep because your body will become more active, the brain activity will go up. So we'll have to make sure that it's only through the left. And by that I mean, especially for the children, this is not advisable at all. Below age of 14, you don't need to do single nostril breathing at all. But for the parents, since, I know that a lot, many of you feel stressed at night and you want to incorporate this into your daily practice. By Chandra Bhedna, what we really do is we shut the left actually. We inhale through the right and exhale through the left. So the exhalation is always through the left side in Chandra Bhedana. And when you want to make the body more active, then you only breathe in from the left and only exhale from the right. So whichever one you want should become more active, you exhale from that nostril. So for before bedtime, only exhalation through the left. You can do this 8 to 10 times, and then you can just relax, allow the breath to normalize slowly, and then you can lie down in your beds.
All right, I hope that answered your question, Jessica. And since we don't really have any more questions, I think that's a wrap for today, and that will be it.
I just want
to the end. Yes,
one thing, that to all of you who are present here, thank you very much for coming. And we also like to announce that we're going to have another part of the series on 15th of June, where Archana Doshi of Archana's Kitchen, she's from Bangalore, she will be coming online to talk about healthy cooking skills, and she will be sharing some recipes. And Archana has been chosen as the Google Entrepreneur of the Year, and she has 10 million followers on her channel. So she would be a great insight to healthy cooking. So I would request all of you to join and spread the word amongst your friends. Thank you so much for coming and watching Back to School Stronger. See you again soon.